Incredible Thoughts Makes. My name is Stephanie, and this channel is where I share my works in progress, finished projects, things I'm cooking up, books I'm reading, funny things the kids say. My hope is that as you watch this episode and the previous episodes that you find some inspiration along the way. Today is January 31st. It is the last day of January in 2020, and this is episode number 14. In today's episode, I'd like to share with you some photos and videos from a recent trip we took, and I have some finished projects, and then I have a couple works in progress to share with you, and a project that I have assigned to a project bag that I'm telling myself I cannot cast on until I complete a couple more things. My works in progress numbers don't seem to be going down as quickly as my cast on numbers, although I guess it's not at my max yet. I usually give myself a max of 8 to 10 works in progress at a time. Now that's actively working on them, like rotating through, not ones that are hibernating or set aside because I might rip back. Those don't count. So I give myself a max of 8 to 10. I feel like once I'm past that, then it gets a little bit overwhelming. So let's get started. So my family and I, we recently went to Taiwan. It is a 24 plus hour journey for us to get there and coming back from start to finish, like from my house to the home of my grandparents. We usually end up having to take plane and high-speed rail, train, and the metro, and usually a cab as well. To get there, it is quite a trip, and it's a 14-hour time difference, so you can imagine there's a lot of jet lag as well. We are still recovering. The kids are like falling asleep at the table and on the floor at random times. I feel like by the time they got kind of over the jet lag when we were there, it was pretty much time to leave. It just takes so long for your body to adjust, and you're just tired and everything's different, and I feel like the journey is totally worth it though. We get to see family and friends, and our kids get to experience the culture that I am connected to and proud of. So this time we went to Sun Moon Lake, which is at the foothills of Taiwan's Central Mountain Range, and we also visited the Formosan Aboriginal Culture Village, which is east of the lake, and it's where some indigenous villages have been recreated for people to learn about them. We took the Sun Moon Lake ropeway cable car up into the mountains, and we got to see a beautiful view of the lake. It was sunny, blue skies, and the views are absolutely breathtaking. Sun Moon Lake is, it surrounds a tiny island, and the east side resembles the sun and the west side resembles the moon, and that's why it's called Sun Moon Lake. And after that we went to Kaohsiung to visit some family friends, and that's in the southern part of Taiwan. And then after we visited there, then we went back up a little to Chiayi, which is the city where my parents are from and where my grandparents live. So it was really nice to see all the family, and it was over Lunar New Year, which is then when my cousins have time off, so then we get to see all of them. So it was a really great time. I will insert kind of a montage of video and photos at the end of this episode so you can enjoy some of our adventure there. So something that was kind of fun was that I rolled up a little ball of yarn. I think it was like 32 grams, so that I could make a sock for one of my daughters on this trip. It's portable, it's really small, and something that I could work on the airplane on wooden DPNs. I didn't want to risk any of my metal needles getting confiscated by TSA, so I decided to bring small 5-inch wooden double-pointed needles instead. And here they are. They are so much fun. I estimated just the right amount. I only had about 12 or so inches remaining, so it was perfect. I didn't lose any of my needles on the airplane, although there was a couple close calls where I dropped it and it was dark and it was hard to find, but I did find them and I didn't break any of them, so that was a plus. I really enjoy how these turned out. I didn't do any contrast heel cuff or whatever because I just didn't want to have to mess with that. It was just much easier to just do it all in one, and the self-patterning yarn makes it fun and keeps it interesting. So I knit these ones cuff down, and all of my notes are on my Ravelry page at Edible Thoughts. So something fun about these socks is I finished them on the airplane on the way home at 34,000 feet in the air, and it was approximately negative 56 degrees Fahrenheit outside. You know how on the airplane sometimes they have those screens that tell you about your trip? So I jotted it down once I cast it off. I thought it would be kind of a fun tidbit of information that I could share with my daughter who I'm making these for. So this completes her 7th pair of socks, a week worth of Mama Knit socks in her collection. I am so excited about them. So that would be my first finished project. My second finished project that's actually not finished yet, but hopefully will be finished by the end of the day, are my Here Nuktuk socks by Caroline Dick. This pattern here. It has some sweet color work on the top and then is knit and stockinette all the way down. There are 2 toe options. You can do a wedge toe or a star toe. My first finished sock is here. My color inspiration is drawn from illustrations in the book that the pattern has been inspired from. The book is The Sweetest Kulu, and the colors I used, I'll put the pictures of the pages from the book here. This greenish color, I was inspired by the bunting of the baby in the book. And then the other color for the main part, and some of the landscape illustrations, this color is in there. So on my second sock, I am almost done. I'm on the toe. I will definitely be done by the end of today. I was hoping to have it done for this video, but right now is my time to record, so I will finish this later. Okay, my works in progress. Let's see here. My Nightwalk socks, I finished one. This is so much fun. Again, I only did one row of this color work because I was afraid it was getting too tight, and I will do the same for the second one. I really like how the heel turned out. It's Eye of a Partridge heel. And I'm really loving how these speckles are working up. And then my second sock, I have the top part started. I'm about to start the color work on it. Okay, another pair of socks that I am working on. I picked up this bag in Taiwan. It has a lot of little pockets and it's the perfect size for a small project. It has a button closure on top and then 2 handles. So this one, I am doing something a little bit different. So I know in one of my previous episodes I mentioned how I haven't tried 9-inch circulars because I figured the 9-inch would stretch out my sock too much, since most of my socks I'm knitting are 7-inch diameter or 7-inch circumference or smaller. But I decided to give it a try because I do really enjoy knitting in the round, and most of the time I'm using circular needles anyway, so I thought, well, I'll give it a try. And so far, I really like it. It's really fun. So I am knitting these socks on US 1.5, which is a 2.5 millimeter needle. Look at these. How fun is that? And it's actually not stretching it out that much. I took a little survey on my Instagram stories on whether or not people like using these 9-inch circulars. And honestly, it came out about split. Some people hate them because they cramp their hands up or their thumbs hurt or whatever it is. But, and other people love it because they say for these plain stockinette or vanilla socks, it works up really quickly. So far, I'm really enjoying it. So what I'm doing is I'm casting them on toe up, still using magic loop with the old Turkish cast on like I do typically. And then after I kind of get started a little bit, then I transfer it on to these 9-inch circulars. So I'm going to get another pair of these 9-inch circulars so that I can transfer them to this one and then work on them kind of simultaneously. So it would be like doing 2 at a time socks, but on 2 separate needles. What I find fun about doing that with stripes is then I can kind of see where I am progressing on each one and then just kind of do a little bit this side, do a little bit that side. So working them up at the same time. I think so far I'm liking that much better than working 2 at a time on one circular set of knitting needles, or like 2 but working 2 at a time on them. So working 2 at a time but on completely separate needles might actually work for me. So we shall see how these go. But so far I'm loving these stripes. Here's the yarn. It's Knit Picks Felici. So that's that. All right. Another work in progress that I have that I can't really tell you too much about, it is a test knit, and I am just swatching right now. Let's see here. I'll show you the yarns that I'm using. This is one, this is dark brown. And then, what other color is this multicolored one that's kind of brown with pink and greens in it? I'll show you how that swatched up. Check that out, isn't that fun? So I am on gauge and I am ready to start. So I can't tell you much about it, but I can say that if you like boba, or also known as bubble tea, you might want to follow Athena.makes, who is the designer of this pattern. So I'm very excited about it because I love boba, everything boba related, and this is going to be super cute. So stay tuned for that. Here's another bag I picked up in Taiwan. It is drawstring with little handles, and it's got kind of a circular or oval shaped bottom, and it is perfect for small little projects like. So, love this bag. Really excited about this project. Oh, and then the next one I want to talk to you about is my Love Note sweater by Tin Can Knits. They have been a super popular pattern this last year, and I took a long time trying to figure out what yarn I wanted to use, because you can use just DK weight, or you can use a single ply plus mohair, and I was having a hard time finding the combination of mohair and single ply that I wanted to use based on color, based on yardage, so that I wouldn't have a lot left over of one or the other, so I wouldn't have to buy a lot of extra of one over the other. So I just kind of stalled on it for a while, but I really liked the look of this sweater. So then Sarah at Less Traveled Yarn came out with some mohair, and she was doing a giveaway, and I won the giveaway, which is amazing. And this yarn, seriously, is so beautiful. Look at that fuzziness. Look at the little crinkliness. This is called Moonstone from her Enchantment collection. Again, it's called Mohair. 69% silk, 22% kid mohair, 9% nylon at 382 yards. And it is just so beautiful. And this is what I'm making my Love Note sweater from. I don't have to hold double anything. I don't have to figure out what color it might be or not. It's this, and it's gorgeous. And I'm so excited. So I started my sweater. Let me show you. Here is the beginning of the yoke. Check out that. Now for someone who doesn't like to knit lace, I am really hoping to finish this yoke soon. Like typically I love the yokes of sweaters, but it's lace. I do like the end result. I will suffer through the process of knitting it. It's really not that bad. But my issue with lace is that if I mess up, it's really hard for me to go back. The yarn overs kind of throw me off, and I'd rather just completely start over if I need to. That being said, I have 2 mistakes in the lace work, and I really don't want to rip back, so I'm gonna figure out a way to make it work, because that's just how I am. I will show you. You see those light bulb stitch markers there? So I'm not sure what entirely happened, but some yarn over might have gotten pulled out over another stitch or something happened, but it's not really like a dropped stitch because I don't think it's going anywhere, but it's not where it's supposed to be. So like you see here, there's like a giant hole. It's supposed to be like a line there. So same with here. I ended up with this giant hole, and I think one of these stitches is supposed to be up here. So I will figure out how to fix that later. It might entail sewing thread. It might mean I take more of this yarn and just kind of loop something through and then weave in the ends. I don't really know yet, but I have to get it fixed because in the pattern, your beginning of the round marker is the center of your back, which makes my mistakes, I think they end up kind of like on my left shoulder front area. So it'll definitely be visible. It's an area that moves a lot, so the holes will just be very obvious. So I'm going to keep going because I don't want to re-knit all that lace, and I will fix it and it will be fine. And that's how I work. Here is this yarn all caked up. It's so pretty. I really, really love it. This is going to be awesome. If you've knit the sweater or you know that the construction involves a provisional cast on for the neckline, you will notice that I did not do the provisional cast on. I am not a huge fan of the provisional cast on. I know it's fine, but and I don't mind crocheting it, but I don't want to have to go back. So I kind of worked the pattern backwards a little bit for that neckline area. So I like went to the end and then worked that section backwards until I got to the part where the neckline starts, more in the beginning of the pattern. I also noticed that a lot of the finished projects for the small adult size, the smallest adult size, had a very close crew neck, and I don't want that. So I cast it on where the first increase number is, I think. Well, I didn't cast on for the number that the ribbing would have been at. So I cast on the next stitch count up and did the ribbing in that, and then kind of just went from there. I will put my notes in the Ravelry page for this project on my Ravelry at Edible Thoughts, and maybe it'll make more sense there. But we shall see how this turns out. I did swatch, and I had to swatch 3 times because I couldn't get the fabric that I liked. It was too loose or too airy, so this is the one I ended up liking. I did decrease my needle size by 2, I think, from what the pattern states, and then I got gauge that way. So I really like how this looks. I think this will turn out really nice. When I do my gauge swatches, I tie a little tag on to them that tells you what the yarn is, what needle size I used, and my gauge, and so I can use it for future reference. The last thing I want to show you is a project that I have assigned to a project bag. This is another shawl by Joji Locatelli. It is called Pure Joy, and I'm really excited about it because it is a garter stitch with short rows and eyelet row shawl, and I really enjoy garter stitch shawls. I don't like to have to think too hard when I'm knitting a shawl or counting too much, so I'm really excited about this one. The yarn I am planning on using, I'll show you here. These two are by Little Lion Head Knits. Colleen is the incredible dyer. These two yarns, I believe, are merino cashmere nylon blends. This one has all these different multicolored speckles in it, and this one's kind of like a neon red. It's really bright. I don't know if it'll get blown out here, but I'm really excited about this color too. They're super, super soft. The yardage in the pattern says you'll need approximately 800 yards of fingering weight yarn in 2 colors, though you will need more of color A than color B. And so since these two are actually, I think, a little less than 400 yards, I haven't actually weighed them yet to see if they are over 100 grams or not, but I know I might run out. So I will be adding in this color, which is also a merino cashmere nylon blend, called Neon Strawberries by Teal Torch Knits. Christina is also a color genius there. So this one is kind of a peachy coral tonal, and so I think it'll pair really well in here for when I run out. Very excited about this. I might even just do these two first because there's more yardage of this one, and then add this third one in when I run out. I'm not really quite sure. I will play around with it. If you followed my Alejandra shawl or watched my Alejandra shawl episode, you'll know that I didn't follow the stripes I didn't follow the stripes per pattern, so I just kind of improvised some as I went because I was also worried about yardage there, but it all worked out and I love it. And that's the great thing about shawls, is that it doesn't have to be exact for color placement. You can make it how you'd like. So I'm super excited about this project, but I will not cast on until I get a couple other things done, because otherwise there's just too many things. As we finish up January and go into February, I wanted to kind of check in with you and see how you are doing. I feel like January can be tough for a lot of people. It's like the start of a new year. I feel like there's a lot of expectations. People are expected to set resolutions and be this like brand new person, but honestly, for me, it's just another year. And yes, it's 2020, so it seems like this brand new decade, and like there's all these things that should have been resolved or something. I don't know. I don't really understand where these expectations come from, but I don't feel the pressure of them. I feel like it's just another year. I still feel the same. I am excited to see what the next day, the next week, the next month brings. I don't feel a pressure to like finish all my works in progress from the last year. I'm always feeling like I just kind of want to finish them as they go. I like the organic process of how it goes. It's just much less stressful that way. But going into this year, I guess I just want to kind of check in and see how you are doing. Maybe you need to check in with yourself, see what is bringing you joy and what isn't, and kind of go from there. A lot of things bring me joy. Socks, knitting socks. Now that I know how to knit socks, they bring me so much joy. I love the color combinations. I love being able to create something in a relatively short amount of time that is functional. For me, all of our knitwear, and I say our because I mean like for me and my family, I want it to be usable, to be functional. I'm not just going to spend a bunch of time and money on something to have it sit there in a drawer or a closet or on the floor or wherever. It has to be functional. So I feel like socks are really functional. Garments that I make, I choose ones that I know will fit into my everyday life, or if they're statement pieces, I want them to still fit into my everyday life and whatever I feel like wearing, and that it needs to go with other pieces that are in my closet. For example, this arboreal sweater that I knit January of 2019. It was my first adult size colorwork sweater. I absolutely love it, and I wear it just as much as any of my other knitwear that I have made, because I'm proud of the things that I have made and they bring me a lot of joy. So with that, cheers to being creative. I hope you find some joy in your day today, or maybe the next day and the next day, and just a little bit every day. Maybe some days you have a lot of it and some days just a little bit, but I really do hope that you find things that make you happy and that spark the joy in you. I hope you have a wonderful day. Take care.